Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to another guide for Feed the Beast, the Mindcrack pack. Today we're going to look into a nice, very classic mod actually. And I forgot to put on my sign, so let's do that now as I introduce it. You know what? We'll put it here. We'll put it here. And today we're looking at Forestry. If I learn how to spell. Alright, Forestry. Now, Forestry is a really interesting mod. It's been around a long time. And for those of you who have ever played Tekkit, you'll recognize this, which is one of the first things of Forestry. This is an arboretum, and that's a logger down there. The arboretum isn't powered, so it's not functioning right now, but if I place that right there, what this does is it's an automatic tree farm, pretty much. And so the arboretum will put down this humus, and it will plant the saplings onto the humus, and then in combination with the logger down there, the logger will cut down the trees once the arboretum grows them. Now you can't bone meal these trees and all that jazz, but we're actually going to be, I'm not going to go into this is just a really basic setup. It's not perfect by any sense, but the thing is, these are actually being removed somewhat soon. Sengir, the author of, the creator, the mod developer for Forestry, does not know when, but it will be removed. So if you have these, they'll work for now. You can still make them, but they'll be gone pretty soon, so you don't want to go into that. But what they're being replaced with is these new ones, these new farms. So actually, this one will go going if I put some humus in, and if you give it a, let's see, which side is it working on first? It also might be out of power, actually. I built this one, and then I built this one to show how you can automate it, but you can't actually see anything because all these trees are in the way. So I guess I'll just do it from scratch there. But okay, there's a few things. Okay, well, let's just get this straight. What these new things are is they're actually multi-block structures. If you remember, I showed the blast furnace in a previous episode with Industrial Craft, which isn't technically Industrial Craft, but it is used in a lot of Industrial Craft things. I may go into Railcraft later, which is the mod which is from. But this is a multi-block structure, and multi-block structures, you place a bunch of blocks, and then they'll condense into a one machine. So if I right-click this anywhere, I'll get the interface. Now, these multi-block structures are pretty cool, actually. They're still new in development, so there's some glitches with them. For instance, they're not in the NAI. So if I search for farm blocks, here we go. See, there's, oh, it'll just give it to me. If I press R, see, the recipe doesn't come up. And notice you can actually make these with stone bricks, mossy stone bricks, cracked stone bricks, smooth sandstone, chiseled sandstone, and nether brick and chiseled stone bricks. So you can have really decorative farms, actually. But there's 4 components of one of these. We're going to go through those first. We got the basic farm block, which is some stone bricks, copper, slabs, and a tin electron tube. And there's another machine in Forestry which you use to make electron tubes, and they're NANEI, so it's easy to make them. And then you got the gearbox, which is made from the farm block and some tin gears. Now these two are the only 2 blocks that are strictly necessary to run one of these. Those 2 are just for good automation purposes. But yeah, so these 2 are strictly necessary. You need these 2. So next we got the valve, which is just a farm block and tin gear and some glass. And next we have the hatch, which is just tin gears, trapdoor, and a farm block. So let's do an overview. There you go. So what each of these does is this one just makes up the multi-block, so it's kind of like a filler block, and then you can replace any block on the structure with any one of these 3. And this one, the gearbox, is used to power it. So you attach a power source, like an energy cell, to it. And the valve is used if you want to put water into it, because you need to supply these with water. So the best way to do that would be with an aqueous accumulator, if you'll remember from our thermal expansion. But otherwise you could just have like some kind of water pump or anything like that. And this is a hatch. And the hatch is used to transport items out of it. So you can use it to automate taking out the product, that is. Now, there's many ways to do this, actually. The minimum is a 3x3, and they're all 4 tall. So you have to make them at least 4 high. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you can fill it in. And after a second, it will update. And it used to take a really long time. Now it takes a little less time, I believe. Come on. Okay, well, we'll let that sit for a second. But there we go. There it is. Okay, you know it's functioning when it's got that black bar. And see, there. And it's got the default trees. And I'll show you how to change that in a bit here. But these are the 5 shapes that they have so far. By the time this comes out, there might be a couple more, but there's the 3x3, there's a 3x4, a 3x5, and then there's a 4x4 and a 5x5. Now these will, of course, make it bigger or smaller depending on which you pick, right? And the bigger they are, they use more power and all that, and more water and all that jazz. So let's go into making one here. So this is just the basic one, 4 high. It's got a gearbox, a valve, and a hatch. And so if you want to put a hatch down, or a gearbox or anything, just replace any block at all, and that one, put it in, and after a little bit, it'll update again, and it'll become the multi-block structure. So, yep, there it is. Okay. So now the way to make these is these actually need a surface to place it on. So they can be placed on stone brick, sandstone, which is underneath all my grass, so I just cleared that out. But they need a smooth surface, so you can't just place one on the grass. Like this one wouldn't function because it needs stone brick layering. That's why these are all on the sandstone. So the way this works is you power it, and I need to hold shift to place it on a block. And let's prepare a couple things here. So what we're gonna do first is we're gonna get some tank and some water and some liquiduct. So let's just prep like a basic tank here. There we go. And then put that there. And you know what I need to do? I need to have it at least, with this sort of tank, you need it to be a couple blocks away. So we'll put it right here. And that'll do. So let's put that there. And I held shift. Alright. There we go. Alright. And let's put the water in. Tons of water. There we go. And then once I supply that with a signal, it will work like a charm. So let's get me a lever. Here we go. And I can place this on the block here, I think. There we go. So, lots of water now. There we go. And yeah, that'll function for our purposes. And the next thing this needs, now, like the olden farms, they still need to be supplied with humus, but this one also needs to be supplied with fertilizer. So what we're going to do is we could put fertilizer in here, and we're going to put a humus on the left here. And then, see, fertilizer needed, so it has fertilizer now. But we also need something to plant. So this is a basic tree. The basic one you'll make, it'll be a basic tree harvesting one. So let's grab some saplings, actually. See, oh, and it's placing the thing all by itself, the humus. And see, it has a circular pattern. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. See, with the basic one, it's 4. It used to be 5, I believe, but he must have changed it. And so if I place the apple saplings, the apple oak sapling as it calls them, in here, and it'll place them automatically. And as they grow, it'll chop them down, and so it's a lot simpler in some ways, although it is a little more complicated in other ways. And now if you want to draw items out, what you need is you need a wooden pipe, and I'm going to use an arc gate, if you remember from the Buildcraft 101. And we'll put that through there. And and we'll grab a chest of some kind. Chest. There we go. And if I put this to, I'll just make it pump all the time, it will collect the items as this thing makes them. See, look, it placed all the saplings, and as they grow, it will chop them down, and all that jazz, and it'll pump it out. So it's pretty cool. There's a few things you need to know about this, though. One, it actually reads the temperature and the humidity of the area and takes that into account. So if it's got higher humidity, you won't need to use as much water, and same with the temperature. And here's some tips and things. And this is the hydration thing. So it'll say hydration required. Overall, you need, because it's a warm area. It's warm, so it's only 80%. And then humidity is dry, I believe. Yeah, it's very dry here. So it needs a lot of, because the humidity is low, it needs a lot more. And because it hasn't rained here in a long time, see if I make it rain for a bit, it should adjust. See, yeah, there we go. See, look, that made a huge difference because it's raining. Huge difference. And so it's really smart, this thing, which is pretty cool. And yeah, so that's how that works. Now, if you want to adjust it to manage different farms, what you're going to need is a soldering iron and some intricate circuit boards. And then you're going to need a whole bunch of these electron tubes, depending on what you want. And so the way these works is you take the soldering iron and you put a circuit board in. And so if I come out of the soldering iron, it'll just throw it onto the ground. So you need to be careful of that. So you can put in here, this is the first page, which is about electrical engines. We'll come into that in a bit here. But what we're going to look at is managed farms and manual farms. Now, managed farms is like this tree farm here. It does everything for you. And so depending on what you put in it... sorry about that. Apparently, there's a glitch right now with my circuit board, so I can't exactly show you what's going on. But the way it's supposed to work is you put the circuit board in there, and then depending on which tube you put in, it'll give the farm a different effect. So you can plant trees, so you can have one slot be trees, another slot be peat bog, say, another slot be, say, vegetables, another slot, say, netherwort, and then you can actually have one farm that farms multiple things at once, which is really cool, actually. And then depending on how you put it in, if you put it into the soldering iron bit, this will be, I believe it's north, south, east, west. And that also corresponds with, you'll be able to tell from here, so it's like north, south, east, west, I believe. Or it might be west, east, actually. Yeah, it's west, east. North, east, south, west. Yeah. So that's how that works. Won't be able to show you that last bit, but next we're going to come into this. This is a very important part of forestry, very basic but very important. These are the forestry machines. Now, forestry actually adds a couple of, well, let's say they're kind of like a power-giving things. It ties into its own thing. But forestry adds these engines. There's the biogas engine, there's a peat-fired engine, and there's an electrical engine. Now, the biogas actually ties into some of its machines. There's a machine here called a fermenter. Where are you? There we go. So the fermenter will actually take stuff like saplings, say, and it uses some other things, but it'll turn it into biomass. And that can be later turned into biofuel with a still there. And so that can be used in a biogas engine. The biofuel can't. You need a biogenerator for that, but yeah, so you can power with say, loop one of these farms and it can power itself. And you get peat-fired engine, you get those from peat bog farms, and electrical engines are used to tie into some of the other mods, which I'll show you in a sec. But there's something special about these actually. If I attach an engine here, because they run on Minecraft Joules MJ power, they have an internal buffer The carpenter doesn't. And a bunch of these don't, actually. Some of these don't need power. But they all have, most of them, let's see, what's a good one to watch? Okay, they all have internal buffers. The best one to look at is the thermodynamic fabricator. And they'll actually be constantly draining power. So if you have them hooked up to conduit like this, it'll constantly be draining power, and it'll be pretty quick about it too, actually. So even though you're not actually using the machines, they'll be draining. So this is not recommended. Don't do that. The best way to do this is with engines. And any kind of engine, any engine at all, just hooked up directly and it will work. And you can also use Buildcraft pipe, the conductive pipe, which, we'll just take a glance. If you'll remember, with the engines, goes directly to anything really. So, what we're going to look at here though, is we're going to kill two birds with one stone. I'm going to show you how the engines work, and I'm also going to show you what the electrical engine does. The electrical engine is actually powered by energy units, EU, the industrial craft power. And so I have an overkill amount of advanced solar panels, like this is way overkill, and a full MFE. And so you can actually just flick on a lever, and, okay, that's a bad example. This one. There we go. Some of these don't actually require power. It's interesting. It connects to all of them, but they don't all need power. But, yeah. So, say the thermodynamic fabricator. This is actually the machine you use to make the tubes. We can show you that here. Tubes. See? Oh. I'm in cheaty mode, so it doesn't tell me the... Okay, apparently that that glitch I was talking about with the soldering iron and the tubes appears in their NAI. So they're not in NAI right now. That should be fixed pretty soon, hopefully. But yeah, so what you can do is you can turn on the engine, and then once it heats up, you'll be able to make it work. And actually, the way the thermodynamic fabricator works is you put glass in it, and it'll actually melt the glass, and then the recipes will have you put stuff in here, and they work like a project table. If you know what those are, I'll go into those. I'll go into project tables in the Red Power 101, which I'll do eventually. But yeah, so these work interestingly. So yeah, and then you can turn off the engine, and it will stop taking power, and so you save power that way. Now, these are very interesting machines. Actually, they're used for very specific things. You can build. There's ones to build things specifically for forestry, but there's also interesting ones, like a rain tank will collect water from rain, and so without thermal expansion, aqueous accumulators, those would be handy. You got the squeezer, which can squeeze like apples and things, make juice for the biomass, that sort of thing. Centrifuge, that's used for bees. Fermenter, right, biomass. Still, you use that on biomass, and comes biofuel. And there's a bottler, it's kind of useless, to be honest. And there's a moistener. This can actually, this does not work out here because it's not dark enough. But what you can actually do with a moistener is you can take, say, cobble, and you can make mossy cobble. So it's really interesting that way. And yeah, and we should probably come over this guy. He does not have an interface, although you can kind of right-click. You can right-click him, but it won't do anything. This little guy is the infamous Rainmaker. So the Rainmaker is from the Forestry mod, and it is the infamous thing that on FTB servers, guys will get one of these, and they will make it rain, literally. So you can make it rain all day, or you can use these to actually make it stop raining. So, which is really interesting, actually. So the way to make those work is you actually need to get into bees, which I'm not going to go into now. I might go over the bit of the basics, but I'll go into those if I ever do a Forestry 102. And so what you actually need is an iodine capsule, and then there's also dissipation capsules, dissipation charge. And the way these work, oh wait, yes, of course, they do not have a GUI, but the way these work is you take one and you just right click it, and it'll take it inside, and then it'll power up, and once it gets to the top, it will make it rain. Now, while we're doing that, I'm going to show you the basics of beekeeping, I think. So what we're going to do, there's a lot more than this, but this will get you started. If, see, I'll just price it right here. Now oh, here we go. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. And it starts to rain. Now you can easily make that stop with a dissipation charge. And it works a lot faster. And it'll go, and it should clear up in a second. Now for beekeeping, we're just going to come over here because here is a hive. Now they don't all look the same. I'm in the same biome, so they look the same, but in different biomes there's a bunch of different hives. And the way you get a hive is with a scoop. You can also use a couple things from a couple different mods. Here's a scoop. And so you left click, you break the hive. Unfortunately, I'm in creative, so I didn't get anything from that. But let's see if I can change that. There we go. There we go. And out comes bees. So let's do creative one on. There we go. And so I got the princess. Where's my... whatever. I'm gonna have to grab a drone, but the way it works is you get princesses and you get drones. Now, princesses are very, very important. They're very, very important because you're gonna need to keep getting princesses at some point. You'll eventually run out. Now, for beekeeping, oh, I chopped down a tree, and they should be all in here. So trees, sand, apples. Pretty cool. But yeah, so apiaries are basically the bee homes. You get the bees to do their business in here. So here, I'll put a princess in there, and let's just grab a random drone. Pick a drone, any drone. Let's grab that guy. And so you put a princess on the top, and you put a drone on the bottom, and they'll kind of cook for a second here. This is them getting down and dirty, and they became a queen. So, and then the queen will actually, you know, do her business. Now, depending on the kind of bee, you'll need something like flowers nearby. So if we get a rose, there we go. Now you can learn what kind of flower they need depending on this type of bee. And see, she'll do her business, and you can put things called frames in there, actually. I really need inventory space. Get out of my inventory. You. Get out of my inventory. She's gone. Be gone. Okay. So what we're going to take is we're going to actually get a few of these impregnated frames. And you make these by getting these impregnated sticks and string. And you get the impregnated sticks by actually using the squeezer to get seed oil. And then you need a carpenter with seed oil in it to make the impregnated sticks out of just a couple of logs put on top of each other. For some reason, the NAI isn't working. NAI is buggy today. Any case, what you do is you can take these frames. These are not the only kinds of frames, but they're the only kind I'm going to show you right now. And you put them in there, and they'll help out. They'll help out the bee. Either make her live longer, get more product. But these impregnated frames will help. They'll help. They're kind of a general frame. They'll last longer than the very basic frame, which is just what is it called? Untreated frame. That's a basic frame, and so they'll help the bees mutate a bit better and all that jazz. And the way the beekeeping works is you try to breed the bees to get specific other kinds of bees, and this is where all the output comes out. And you can oh, and here she made a comb. Now, the few tools of the trade as far as beekeeping goes, and these are the basic bits, you can't really do it without it, is you're going to need a beealyzer, and you're going to need a bee... Oh, and see, you don't actually get one of these. This is a master database that you only get in cheat mode, but you're also going to need a database, and a data bank would be helpful. So beekeeping actually has a bunch of machines that I'm not going to show you now, but this data bank can help you. Yeah, it'll tell you all about the kinds of bees you've discovered. It only does the ones you've discovered, so you can't cheat unless you get the master database. And see, look, there's tons and tons of kinds of bees, tons. Look at that list. That's crazy. And okay, so this is just a kind of portable version of this. The database versus the databank. The databank does go into a little more detail, though. Now, the really important thing, though, is the beealyzer. Now, the beealyzer runs on honey, so you'll need to actually, let's see, there we go, honey drops. Let's get a little more than that. So, the way this works is you actually get a drone, pick a drone or a princess or something. Pick a drone or princess, and I'm not sure how well these will work because they are fake bees. But yeah, okay, so they're just purebred. So yeah, so it'll tell you everything about the bee. It'll use a honey drop to do so, but you can store the honey drops. See, look, the bee fell out, but the honey drops are still there, which is pretty cool. And so, it'll actually tell you everything about the bee. So it'll tell you its species, its forest, which means it's purebred. Its lifespan is shorter, speed, they won't always be the same. Oh, it's very fertile. That's interesting. And this area is, say if it was a violent bee, that's the area in which it would attack you. And here we go, we got climate, it likes a normal climate, and it doesn't tolerate much difference there. It wants a normal climate. It won't work at night, it doesn't work in the rain, and it doesn't work in a cave. And here we go, it'll make honeycombs, and possibly mutations. We haven't discovered any, so it won't show any. And here's just a little funny, yeah, oh yeah, beekeeping 101. There we go. Sengier. What a nice guy. Alright. So that's the basics to beekeeping, and then you'll try to mutate the bees, and yeah. So you try to get bigger and better bees by mutating them. And yeah, there's a lot more to it, especially with the extra bees mod, but that is what I will cover for today. And that'll about cover the basics. Yeah, let's see, there's a ton of machines that might go over at some point. But yeah, that'll cover forestry. So yeah, I hope you guys found this helpful in your working in forestry. A lot of these machines are actually used, they can be used for the other mods as well, especially in Feed the Beast. And yeah, forestry is a really cool mod, so I hope you guys have fun playing around with it. These are some of the best ways to make automatic tree farms and stuff like that. Still. So, you know, even with the other mods added in, so yeah, it'll do good. You can make all sorts of farms. There's also ways to make, there's ways to make every kind of farm, pretty much, even with just one block structure and using the soldering iron and all that jazz. Oh yes, and in passing, the whole electrical engine thing, it's kind of hard to show you without the tubes working right now, but you can increase their efficiency, say, and their power output, because these don't actually, electrical engines in particular don't output that much power, all considering. They're not that they're not that power efficient, really. They're kind of sad, to be honest. Yeah, the cells are definitely the way to go if you want to power something, except for this. Like, I'd recommend using these cells, and then yeah, pretty much. Yeah, actually, you can use any other engine that isn't an electrical engine. But yeah, so thank you guys for watching. I hope you find this helpful in your feeding of the beast, and I will see you next time. Have a good day.